Our story begins with the dirty laundry of nuns and monks of the 1800s. In these sacred halls, a peculiar tradition was born, as nuns discovered that egg whites were the perfect solution to stiffen their habits and make them brilliantly white. This meant a lot of egg yolks were left over. Since eggs were one of the most donated food items to monasteries, they quickly found their way into the daily menu of monks and nuns. Most of the time, they ended up in pastries and sweet stuffs. No wonder Portugal has over 150 different pastries, and many of them with, you guessed it, egg yolks. But of course, no juicy tale of Portuguese history would be complete without a dash of drama. Picture this: two rather good-looking royal brothers, with King Pedro IV taking the spotlight. He wasn't your typical monarch. In fact, he was a liberal thinker, determined to keep things smooth and easy for the people. You see, he had a vivid recollection of what happened to fellow aristocrats during the French Revolution a mere 20 years earlier, and since he rather liked his head firmly attached to his shoulders, he opted for a less decapitation-prone path, bringing forth reforms to Portugal. Now let's turn our gaze to the other side of this royal showdown. Here's where King Miguel takes the stage. If his brother Pedro was the poster child for liberalism, Miguel was the more conservative type. He had no intention of rocking the boat, especially when it came to the Vatican. And you know what? He did have a point. Picture this. His big brother jets off to Brazil, crowns himself emperor there, and then turns around and says, "Oh, by the way, I'll keep that throne in Portugal too." Talk about having the cake and eating it too. All this didn't sit too well with Miguel and his loyal supporters, including the Catholic Church. You see, they had a fondness for sticking to the old ways, and Pedro's Brazilian escapades were like a wild modern twist in a well-ordered historical recipe. And then, smack in the middle of this royal tug-of-war, sits Princess Maria II. She's just a tender 7-year-old, likely wondering if all this power struggle is putting a dent in her playtime. So, you've got King Pedro reigning from the sunny shores of Brazil, King Miguel holding the fort in Portugal because, well, his brother was a bit too busy sambaing in South America, and Princess Maria, well, she's probably thinking that grown-up politics are way less fun than a game of hide-and-seek. As you can imagine, this leads to war and chaos. Long story short, Pedro IV wins against his brother, and with this, the clerics, monks and nuns are in trouble. Enter the 3rd chapter of the custard tart saga. Due to all of this, the monasteries don't have enough money. They come up with a brilliant idea. Why not sell the custard tart that they have by now done 1,000 times? Because you know, dirty laundry gives more egg tarts as a result. They start selling the custard tart for the first time around Belém. But as the plot thickens, the situation takes a turn for the worse. By royal decree, they are forced to close the monasteries and bid their homeland Portugal adieu. It's a tough spot they find themselves in, but with a glimmer of hope, they find one final opportunity to make some money with their coveted custard tart. Now let's introduce another character in this intriguing tale of tarts. A wealthy Brazilian entrepreneur named Domingos Rafael Alves, a sugar magnate that owned a refinery close to the now-closed monastery. He caught wind of the monk's treasured recipe and decided to sweeten the deal by offering to purchase the secret recipe for the golden tarts. Domingos wasn't one to let a tasty opportunity slip through his fingers. He set up shop nearby, mixing his sugary know-how with the monk's heavenly recipe. And oh boy, what a recipe it was. Things started to calm down around Belém and the Kingdom of Portugal. The port in Belém welcomed not only curious visitors, but also a delicious newcomer to Domingos's recently founded business, coffee. It was during the unfolding drama of the 19th century that coffee made its grand entrance in Portugal. First it was a beverage for royalty, but soon it found its way to the masses. Local coffee shops, like a Brasileira, started offering free samples. Before long, Writers, philosophers, monarchs, and laborers all embraced this new exotic brew, and by the end of the 19th century, it became the third most imported commodity. With newfound peace in the kingdom, a heavenly recipe, and an exotic beverage, all paths were created to make the Pasteis de Belem coffee shop a success story. The renowned Pasteis de Belem enjoyed such tremendous success that coffee shops across the nation tried to mimic them. But, alas, none could replicate the original, a closely guarded, secret recipe snatched from the hands of fleeing monks by Domingos. To this day, that treasured recipe remains securely locked in the vaults of Domingos' descendants. Throughout the country, these delectable custard tarts are known as Pastéis de Nata. But let's make one thing clear. There's only one place that churns out genuine Pasteis de Belem. They've become a household name, and as of 2023, the Pasteis de Belem coffee shop whips up over a whopping 20,000 delightful tarts daily. Have you had the pleasure of tasting Pasteis de Belem? No? Well, it's time to take action. Book a tour with Sintra explorers and treat yourself to a delectable delight infused with a remarkable tale that unfolds from the laundry rooms of monasteries to our modern days. Don't miss out on a bite of this legendary pastry with a truly zany history.